Welcome everyone again. It's good to see more and more people every time. So it looks like it's doubling every single time we do this. So that's great. Great to see our users here. Today's session is around the ergonomics workflows that we have within the platform, and talking about why capturing data isn't just enough, but making controls and improving controls is actually what reduces risk within workplaces. So again, I've got Jess with me. Jess is our head of customer success. I'm the founder of Soter, but I also run our product team. And one thing that we really enjoy is explaining how the product actually works to our users. Our mission at Soter remains the same. If you've joined these webinars before, it's the same slide every single time. We're really passionate about helping businesses operate more safely and more efficiently. We take a very data-driven approach. So our SoterAI product can analyze your incidents, your previous risk, looking for emerging patterns as well, but really using that data to help you build solutions that will reduce incidents. And that's obviously closing the loop. We don't want to just measure risk, but we actually want to put in controls that reduce risk. And that's the theme of today's session. So we're going to talk through the ergonomic solution that we have within the platform, understanding the measurements that are made within that workflow, but then how you can also build controls based on that. What can you do? What tools can you introduce? What process changes can you change? And then measuring the effectiveness of that as well. And what allows that to happen within our platform is our risk intelligence. And again, if you've joined this before, you've heard me talk about this before, but risk intelligence is something that we're really proud about within SoterAI. It understands your workplace. To build that risk intelligence, you ingest your previous incidents, you ingest or upload your policy documentation as well, which lists all your controls. Some of our customers also upload hazards as well, so captured hazards that they have. And what this system does is it organizes it into an AI intelligence layer that then is referenceable with everything else that you do within the platform. And what that means is we have a product that isn't just generic. It's not just giving generic answers all the time, based on whatever an LLM is telling it. But it's really understanding what happens in your workplace, what you can do, like what is missing as well within your workplace, and what you can do to bridge that gap. So with that, over to Jess, who will take you through the ergonomics workflows. And just a reminder for everyone, again, we try to limit this to 20 to 25 minutes, trying to keep it super punchy for you all. And if you have questions, let me know as we're talking.
Thanks, Matt, and so great to be here again. Happy Tuesday to everyone. I'm going to share my screen now, and today's webinar, we're going to walk through the ergonomics workflow. So in your dashboards, this will be what your page looks like. We have a bunch of workflows. You'll find the ergonomics workflow down underneath the ergonomics bucket. So to get started with the ergonomic workflow, you do have a few options. And these options are for data privacy and security. You can choose to blur in parts of the video that you upload. So you have the option to blur the face, you can blur the background, or you can blur both. So all you would do is click one of those and click the Use Now to get started in the workflow. Now, I already have a pre-populated workflow to show you with a few great examples. So over here, I started my workflow. Generally, how it starts is it gives you some prompts and some instructions on how you can use this workflow. Usually it's to get started is to upload that video. So what you would do is you'd click this plus icon, and then we have a drag and drop feature where you can drag over the video into the workflow. It will populate as a privacy protected video. That's so that the original video that you upload is protected due to our privacy and data security measures. Then the AI actually goes into that next step where it asks you some validating questions. These questions are going to help it understand that task in more detail. So what it does is it analyzes the video first, it understands what task is being completed, and then it has some questions that come out. So in this case, the video was of a employee that was cleaning a bathtub. I'll show you that in a sec. But the AI is asking, is the worker handling any significant load? Is there any estimated weight associated with that load? And how frequent is this task being completed? So what you would want to do is just respond with the as much information as you can. Obviously, the more information you give AI, the more detail and the more information you get back. So I gave it instruction that this worker cleans 30 bathrooms per 8-hour shift. It's not requiring any kind of load and lifting weight for the actual task itself because she's just using a cloth to clean this bathtub. And what it does is it goes through and it creates this report, and this report looks like this. So I'll show you the video now. I'll put it in picture for you so you can see as we go through the report. So what it does is it's analyzing that video. It's overlaying this risk skeleton. You'll notice that it's a traffic light system. So the red obviously means that the body is in a high risk movement position. The yellow is it's medium risk and green means it's low risk. So what it'll do is it'll find the top priority actions from that video. So what are the most highest risk hazards? And what kind of things, engine controls can you put in place to actually reduce this risk? So in this video, it's given me a top priority action to implement cleaning tools with extendable handles. It's also suggesting to rotate tasks to reduce repetitive trunk flexion, as well as provide training on safe techniques for reaching and wiping. It also gives you this risk snapshot, which highlights the high, the medium, and the low risk movements that are being done in that task. It provides you with the evidence of the video, and then each of these items are then broken down even further so that you'll get a really good understanding of each risk that the AI has detected and what kind of action items are associated and required to reduce the risk. So in this case, repeated trunk flexion and extension. It's given you its observation, the presence, the risk level, the consequences as well. It shows you what the ergonomic principle is, what the assessment of the video, and then the recommended control measures. So in this case, use tools with an extendable handle is a common frequent occurrence. And you'll see that as we scroll down, there's multiple different other hazards that has been detected. So this report is all encompassing, as well as it provides you with other ergonomic factors. So other items that are within the video but aren't as high a risk or aren't as high priority for you to focus on to actually reduce the risk of injury. It also provides you with a snapshot of the REBA score. So this REBA is rapid entire body assessment. These assessments can take, hours upon hours to actually complete manually. The AI is actually doing that autonomously, and all up to get a REBA analysis from a video, it can take 30 seconds, 60 seconds. So getting that score is a really standard measure for a lot of ergonomic assessors out there. It provides you with a snapshot of the body, what the body parts that are at the highest risk, as well as the time spent in those risky positions. So you'll see here the back and the arms are at the highest risk for this task. So what I did then after I did this assessment, and with ergonomics, it's very hard to kind of identify this just from eyesight alone. That's where AI really comes into it. It's able to analyze all of this information and data so that you can get a really great snapshot in the matter of seconds, like I said. So once I did get the recommendation to implement extendable cleaning tools, I asked it, what kinds of tools do you recommend? And so it provided me with some information, some links to some actual products that you can go into and have a look at. You could even give it your budget if you have a very, say, strict budget on what you can spend. You can give the AI that information and it'll tailor its response to exactly what you need. And then from there, I actually bought the extendable tool. As a business, I've decided, yes, this is something that I'd like to invest in, and I've actually taken a new video. So if you do have a new video of that task being completed with the implementation of those controls, you can get the AI to actually compare the risk, which is something that's really hard to do when it comes to ergonomic improvements. It's about that quantifiable and that objective data that AI and our software can really give you to really measure the ROI on this improvement. So from there, I uploaded the new video and I have this report to show you. So this looked at the new video, which I'll show you over here while I'm going through this report. So as you can see, The worker is now using an extendable tool. There's a lot less flexion in the trunk. It looks a lot safer. And obviously, from eyesight, yes, you can see that it's safer, but it's that objective data, that's that analysis of information that you want to use to be able to showcase the actual ROI and improvement and reduction in risk. So from there, the key findings that the AI has given was that there was a significant reduction in trunk flexion and reaching postures with the extendable pole. Overall, the Reba risk level decreased from a medium to high level down to a low level with the use of the tool, which is a really great validation that this control has actually reduced the risk of this task. Now, going down, it also provides you with a breakdown of each of the hazards that the AI did recommend and what the difference is. So with the manual method, it's pulling out that the repeated trunk flexion and extension was the high risk, the overhead arm reach as well as the high risk, and now with the extendable pole method, what those actual hazards have been reduced to. So now you can see that these two have gone from a high risk level to a low risk level, which is really helpful to understand kind of, does this actually reduce my risk? And again, it gives you that same snapshot of the body. In this case, it has still picked up that the neck is still in a forward flexing high risk motion. So that's something that, again, you can implement further controls. You can do another analysis, and we essentially want to get all of the body parts to low. Now, additionally, what I asked the AI next was to actually provide me with an ROI based on this improvement. So what I did was I gave it some information. I wanted it to help me calculate the ROI with this new method. I gave it some data, some basic annual costs of workers' compensation that I am experiencing as a business. I put $750,000 of workers' compensation. And I said, now that we've implemented this tool, what is my predicted ROI based on this information? And it did a pretty good job of actually understanding what kind of reduction in risk this new method would actually have. And it gave me an estimated total savings of about 450 grand. Obviously, if you have more information, if you have more data, you can also get it to actually analyze that actual data. But for purposes of showing you, the AI gave me an estimated ROI of about 1400%. So that was a really great indication that yes, this intervention that I've implemented is going to really impact my business. And this is just from a looking forward. If you have retrospective data, obviously you'll get a much more deeper calculation. Now, with AI, and what I always tell all of our partners, that first report you get is not always going to be the final result that you want. There are so many more things that you can get out of this AI. So the next question I asked it was to develop an SOP. Now, these SOPs are common practice for a lot of our partners. They have to write them in entirety themselves, and that can take quite a lot of time. So what I did was I gave it some basic information. Of course, if you have more information to give it, if you have templates that you want it to work off, you can provide that as well. But I've asked it to give me an SOP based on the new method for this task. And it developed me this document. And you'll probably notice there's a few tabs here. These are all separate reports that the AI has generated for me within this workflow. So to open them up, you would just simply click the open. And this is the standard operating procedure for this task now. So it's given me a purpose, a scope, the required equipment and materials, and then the procedure. As you can see, this is quite detailed. If you want to add more information, you can simply go in here. You can manually add that, or I would suggest asking the AI to add that information for you. So this is another kind of example of that next step, that next evolution of how you can use AI to actually really impact your work and your day-to-day and the administration tasks that you probably have to spend quite a lot of time doing. So after the SOP, I thought, great, I've got all of this great information. Now, how do I communicate that to my workforce? So the next step, I asked it to actually develop me a toolbox talk. So down here, I've asked it to create me a toolbox talk that I can present to workers that encompasses all of this information. So again, toolbox talks are a common thing that a lot of our partners have to do. They have to write them from scratch. It can take quite a lot of time. And it's it's hard to think of things that you can actually do in these toolbox talks that are going to be engaging. So having AI kind of create that for you is one of the other ways that you can use this tool and any of the tools that we have in our toolbox. So over to my toolbox talk. I asked it to create this toolbox talk based on how we used to do it, to tell a story. I want to kind of highlight how we used to do it, what was wrong with that, and how we can actually move forward with this new method and what benefits does that see to our workforce. So what it's done is it's provided me with a full kind of breakdown of what the new method is, what the old method is, the data against that, as well as some games. I always love putting a game into my toolbox talk and an exercise. So this is another thing where AI can really help get your brain flowing I asked it to put in an exercise that I can actually do with my workforce. So it gave me a pretty good example. If you're not happy with that, of course, you can highlight that. You can ask SoterAI. You can say, let's do a different game. Let's make it less tool focused. Let's do it more on the ergonomics or the back and feeling. So just to give you an idea. And then I also asked it to write me a quiz. We all love a quiz at the end of a toolbox talk. We want to make sure our workforce are listening. So I asked it to put in a quiz at the end of my toolbox. So that's a few of the documents that I created. And just to get you guys thinking as well as how you can build in the risk intelligence into this is the next prompt I asked it was, okay, are there any actual controls or um, controls that you recommend changing that we currently have as part of our risk intelligence, or maybe adding? So, any additional controls that we need to introduce to actually reduce the risk globally across the business. And so, what the AI does is it goes through your risk intelligence, it researches everything, it finds common patterns, common issues, and controls that, are there but might not be actually being present in these videos. And what it does is it highlights all of those issues here. So it's given me some engineering controls. So expand the use of mechanical aids. That's a big hit list item for my workforce. Recognize storage spaces and workflows to keep loads within safe lifting zones. So that was something that the AI found in the risk intelligence is that there's a lot of overreaching. There's a lot of work design that isn't optimized for the actual ergonomic manual handling safety. There's also some administration controls that it recommends. So it says to formalize and reinforce training on proper lifting, carrying, and pushing techniques in all these high risk areas, increase frequency of these stretching programs, and limit the weight of the loads as well. So that's how it's found that in this risk intelligence that I have for my business, that there are lots of heavy lifting incidents that are causing lots of injuries. So just to scroll down, these are some of the additional controls. And like I said, with AI, you can always get more and more out of it. So if any of these recommendations actually resonate with you, you can start to then dive deeper into them. You can ask the AI, okay, you've recommended that we implement more formalized training. And I know a lot of us here have probably spent time creating training documents. Again, a very time-consuming task. You can ask the AI to create those training documents to actually formalize that procedure and actually provide you with a presentation that you can use for your training. So that's the ergonomic workflow and a few examples of how you can actually get some more impact out of it rather than just that initial data discovery. It's about that next step. It's that flow of work that you do in your day to day and how this workflow can actually help speed up those processes. But I'll open the floor up to questions now.
Yeah, feel
Thank you,
free
everyone.
to throw your questions in the chat if you've got some questions. A couple of additional points from me. So, while we do have the ruler and Reba reporting, and you can actually do those very detailed reports within the workflow, I think one of the things that we believe and what we see is they're not that important. What is way more important is understanding how do you make the work safer. And that simple traffic light system that Jess showed is super impactful. Like it's probably all you need most of the time. Um, this was a project that I was quite involved in. So one of a couple of interesting points from this project as well. The first one was why does the neck stay red? And the reason for that is in the old way, the body was following the cleaning cloth. So the back was bending, the arms were going up. The neck was fine because it just was following the body. It was quite okay. Now because you're doing the work and you're keeping that body more still, you're actually looking at the work that you're doing, and that's where that neck risk comes from. They understood the trade-off of that. I think it's pretty self-evident that it's a much lower risk in terms of like your body bending than your neck looking up and down. Another interesting thing of this project was that they cleaned the bath or the shower within this hotel chain about 20% quicker. So there was also a productivity ROI that was also evident. So that was great. I mean, they had a ridiculously quick payback period anyway, in terms of how quickly they paid back this improvement, but that also helps as well. The other thing was that they cleaned the shower or the bath, depending on the room, much better. They didn't use chemicals as well. So there was actually a bit of an environmental and an additional risk in terms of those chemicals that they actually were able to eliminate. So that was pretty cool as well. Um, we don't have any questions yet. So if anyone wants to ask a question, if not, we keep these punchy, as I said. So I'll give you a couple of seconds to ask any questions. If okay. I got my first question. What sources is SoterAI using to build the ROI? So what Jess did, I know she had in her prompts the questions that she was asking the system, but she gave the cost of the problem. That cost of the problem is actually also in risk intelligence. So we could have took it from there as well. And within risk intelligence, it's actually breaking down the different types of injuries. So every incident is populated or has been uploaded to populate risk intelligence. So we know from their total cost, or the system knows, I should say, from the total cost of workers' comp, which was 750,000 for this client, how many of those injuries were actually related to the risks that were seen in this video. And then because it was able to analyze the reduction in risk, it's able to estimate how many injuries are reduced or the consequence of these injuries is reduced. And that, again, we're very proud of SoterAI. We talk about it all the time. It's the big difference. You know, it's not just an LLM guessing what the ROI is, but it's actually coming from your real data, breaking it down properly and giving the exact answer. Okay. I don't think we're going to have a second question. So we will end it there. I do have one ask for everyone if you're still here. It's great to see everyone doubling. It's doubling every week, so that's pretty exciting, or every 2 weeks that we do this. If you have colleagues that want to come, we'd be more happy to have even more people. And I'm also looking for more topics. So you guys, a lot of you, I recognize the names, you're our power users within the product. I would love the feedback. You have my email on what topic you would like us to cover next time, and we'd be happy to do that. Um, while I've been talking, I have the last question, I guess, coming through. Do clients often challenge the ROI numbers? They build them themselves. So actually, the what Jess is showing you is how you interact with the system. So you might get an initial answer, but it's actually they go into the data themselves. They can see risk intelligence themselves. They can ask the AI system, how did you build this number? And I think the answer to that is most of the time they work with the AI to come up with those ROI numbers. Jess, would you concur with that? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And
Okay.
that's why I was saying if you have actual data that actually shows the incident information costs year to year, and you have a date in mind where you've actually implemented this control, you can actually use that actual data to get those ROI numbers as well. Obviously, with predictive analysis, it's about the actual reduction in the risk scenarios that you've got in your risk intelligence. So it's going to use that information to predict that risk reduction.
Super. Okay, so I'm looking forward to emails from people. So please get in touch. I'd be very, very happy to hear from you. And we'll see you in the next session, which I think is in about 2 weeks. So thank you.